We start off with breaking news on Alphabet. Deirdre Bosa's got all the details. Deirdre.
Hey, Melissa. Larry Page stepping down as Alphabet CEO. Sundar Pichai becomes CEO of both Google and Alphabet. Now, in terms of the day-to-day, unlikely to see major changes, which is why you may not be seeing a lot of change in Alphabet stock after hours. Now, under the Google umbrella, remember, Pichai ran the established businesses, advertising, cloud, Android software, devices. Now, he has been CEO since August of 2015. And since then, Alphabet stock has certainly soared relative to the broader markets, but it has underperformed its big cap tech peers. Now, since the company's financial restructuring, remember, split into Alphabet and Google, Alphabet became the place where the company's moonshot projects have lived. That includes Waymo, self-driving cars, to drones, internet balloons, and its healthcare projects. So perhaps, guys, the question now is what happens to those money-losing initiatives? Will we see more financial discipline under Pichai and CFO Ruth Porat, who comes from Wall Street and has been known for more financial discipline? As Page steps down, does he also step away from those moonshots as well? That division, again, loses a lot of money, and those traditional businesses like advertising pay for them. Melissa?
All right, Deirdre, thank you. Deirdre Bosa. I've been tweeting over this news when it broke, I don't know, half an hour ago or so. Karen, what do you make of this?
I think it shouldn't be a huge change. I mean, this is a very big, my largest position, actually. I'm not really concerned about this. I do think Deirdre talked about maybe more financial discipline. I think we started to see this when they brought in Ruth Porat, which already goes back 4 years. And then we wanted to see more clarity, and so they split into two. And then we actually wanted to see a little movement on the balance sheet, and they addressed it. They could have done a lot more, but they started to address it. So I think they're doing all the right things. It just shows how important having a good succession plan is. Versus we'll get to something like Tesla, you think, what is the succession plan there? But I think they've done a very good job. And as an investor, I feel like this is going to be not very much of a change.
I think 5 years ago, 7 years ago, I think this is a much bigger deal. I think it's actually, on the margins, a positive thing. I think sometimes you need a fresh set of eyes. And to Karen's point, Ruth Porat came in. This stock, 13, 14, 15, stock meandered for a long time. She came in, I think the stock was either side of $600. It's never looked back for all the reasons Karen just cited. Financial, fiscal responsibility. And I think a new set of eyes is probably a good thing. Them walking away, I don't think it's negative. I think, if anything, it's positive. 17% EPS growth, trades at 23 times forward earnings. Listen, I know it's not a blockbuster of a stock, but you look at it, slow and steady wins the race for Google. And I think we're in a whisper of all-time highs. We actually might be making an all-time high as we speak.
Kara Swisher made a couple of great points on Twitter, as she normally does, that Pichai was already in charge of Google and YouTube for some time. That Page and Brin have been sort of AWOL with their own interests, and they also still control the company. I mean, de facto, through their stock. It's a dual-class structure, so they still have control effectively of the company.
Great points, and it makes you wonder whether some of this is, evolved out of the politics that the company is facing. There certainly are headwinds on the regulatory side. There's enormous, I think, tailwind to their core business, and Karen talked about that. I mean, the control of costs, whether it's through the TAC costs or the capex, these are things that in the last 3 or 4 quarters, investors have become quite comfortable with what the company's been doing. If anything, look, the secular business is alive and well. Google Cloud is growing, is going to be a major business. You worry about the regulatory. Maybe this is the guy. Maybe this is the guy to take them out of the limelight, because they are the founders. They are the icons. They are major players in the politics of Silicon Valley and what goes on beyond there. And I think maybe this changes the tact a little bit.
And maybe this, as the CEO position, this opens up the opportunity to really go into a focus of where they really are, because they are spending money in certain places that not everybody's always all that excited about. So the reality is, are they going to be spending more and putting more into, you brought up cloud. I think that is where they need to go, and I think they're moving in that direction. I think they got the right CEO, and when you talk about financially, fiscally, their spending habits and everything, that's something I think that Ruth might be able to step up now and really put in more.
You mean a dividend?
Well, yeah, maybe something like that. I mean, think of all this. We talk about free cash flow with just about every big company that we talk about on this desk all the time. And what are they doing with that? And obviously, a lot of acquisitions over time, all that type of thing. But yes, something like that, Mel, which I think would make a lot of sense. Look at how well that's worked for the Apples of the world and the Microsofts of the world forever. I mean, that's something they should do.
So I have a question now.
You do that.
Are we going to, I have many questions at many points in time, but one particular question at this moment in time, and that would be, are we going to look back at this change of leadership and think, This was to Alphabet what Satya Nadella was to Microsoft.
I don't think so, and here's why. I don't think Google needs to do what Microsoft needed to do. And again, there was already some momentum behind that change at Microsoft, but Microsoft's moved to the public cloud. Everything that they've done to not only compete, but maybe wrestle some of this away from Amazon and Google, I think, has been well on its way, as we've all talked about, towards this transformation. It seems like it, but I don't think it's the same thing.
I don't think so either, and it's because of the fact of where has he come from versus where Satya Nadella was at Microsoft. And let's not forget, Google's a fine company, Alphabet's a fine company. Microsoft was not, and they needed somebody that's going to transform them from where they were to where they are now. They hired the right guy. I think this gentleman now can step in there. He and Ruth Porat together can build this into a much bigger company in a lot of ways, focused on cloud, but that won't be the only focus. They still have all these other areas, all these other verticals that they can bring in money.
Well, if they can get the regulatory weight off the back of the company, I mean, that could really unleash some.
Yeah. That would be
there.
good. I don't think we're going to get
I don't know how you do
that for a while. I mean, I think to your point, those two could potentially, them stepping back could ease things a little bit. Remember, they didn't show up. They chose not to go to Congress.
Right.
We'll see if now that it's not up to them whether or not they would send someone. But I mean, just look at the France. What started our tariff.
The digital tax.
Right, was the digital tax here. So we got not a lot of clarity for a while. That's why the stock isn't higher.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, to Pete's point, I mean, I don't want to say it was floundering Microsoft, but it wasn't doing particularly well.
Yeah.
I mean, it was sort of treading water with the broader market. He walks in, and the stock is probably, you know better than I, the stock is probably more than doubled under his leadership, which is pretty significant. If we have a conversation about IBM 6 months from now, we can have that same conversation if this is a watershed moment. But with that said, Piper Jaffray just initiated today $1,500 price target, as did Citi. $1,500 price target. I think on the margins, this is a positive thing. The regulatory aspects, these two guys stepping down, I think, if nothing else, probably alleviates some of the pressure, not all of it. Yep. So I think if you're looking for a reason, if you need one more reason to buy the stock, I think this is as good as any.